coming. It's taken a while. Well, we're live. I don't know. We didn't get a notification like we usually do, but you want to
Oh,
go
I
ahead?
can see it at the top. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is the Backdrop CMS um, user group meeting, and this week we will be looking at a few projects that people have been working on and want to demonstrate, just to help raise awareness in the community of the various things that are out there. My name's Martin Price, Yorkshire Pudding around Backdrop. I'm the maintainer of B, the command line tool for looking after Backdrop, and I'll be demonstrating a new feature in that. Should we go to Tim?
Sure. My name's Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I am in Deerwood, Minnesota in the US. And yeah, I've been doing a fair amount of work on Contrib projects. So I'm excited to share some of them and see what other people have been working on. Joseph, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm going to be demoing a new module that I've been making with a little bit of help from Tim called Forward Revisions.
Hey, Justin.
I am Justin Kaiser in Muncie, Indiana, Kaiser JB on the internet, and I will be showing off a module as long as I fix it before we get to it.
Maybe short off anyway. So if you're ready. We talked about this ahead of time. Joseph, do you want to start? Are you ready to start?
Sure. Here. Desktop one. Boom. Okay.
Why don't you quickly be sure to give the context quickly, like how what we're trying to do and where this came from.
Sure. So, a while back, I think actually several years ago at this point, we added the ability for the active revision on a node to not be the last revision on a node, which has enabled us to have basically have in progress revisions that are after the current revision. So I just enabled the module shortly before this. So by default, you don't see this revisions tab until you already have 2 revisions on your content. And so I've changed it a little bit. So we're enabling a few things. Firstly, you can always access this even if there's only 1 revision. And we have a button here that copies the current revision. And then we've made some changes so that it's essentially locking the status of all the revisions to be the same as the status of the node. So you can publish or unpublish all the revisions by just pushing this button. So let's create a new revision. We have to autocomplete for many numbers in here since I've been testing this. So I put a message in here saying the publishing options will affect all revisions of this post. And then if you go to revision information, because this is the new revision form, it removes the checkbox and so it will make a new revision that is after the current revision, but not publish it or not make it the current revision. And you can put a message in here, hit save. And so now this is showing me the node as it currently is without my changes. And then if I go here, I can see I have 2 revisions, but the original one is still the current revision. And I can go view this revision. And it has my updated title here. There's still a few tweaks we want to make. And when I'm happy with this, I can click make this the current revision. And so now if I click view, it has my updated title. So that's the basic functionality. It also has the ability to edit or copy other revisions. So if I edit, so this is the older version. If I edit this, we can go in here and see that also has the checkbox removed. And this is going to modify the existing revision and will not create a new one. If you wanted to create a new one, there's a specific button for that. So normally, if you tried to change the revision message, by default, it would create a new revision with your new revision message. So this allows you to set the revision message on an existing revision.
Edit it.
Mhm.
Yeah, or, you know, if, like, show us what happens when you make that the current revision again.
Like that.
Yep, so now that old one is the current revision, that's what's gonna display to the public, but we still have that other draft.
Yep.
So the common workflow for this, or the common use case for this, is people are writing articles and somebody wants to, well, here's a great example, practical example is if we use this on the documentation site for backup.org. Somebody could come in and make some draft changes to a published node without publishing those changes. And then somebody else could come and review those changes before publishing them. And that is sort of the use case for that. A lot of people have been asking for that. I have a client who needs that. And this module does it in Drupal 7 world. This would have been the Workbench module, which is the content moderation module a submodule of Workbench?
Workbench moderation is a submodule of Workbench.
Okay, and so that module, somebody started to port that, and it's called content moderation in Backdrop, but it's a port of that version of the Workbench module, which has these features plus additional features. And but the other thing is it doesn't leverage what we have in core, whereas this module does. So this is sort of a streamlined, a simpler version of some of the things you could do with the Workbench module.
Mhm.
Any questions? This has not been officially released yet. Joseph and I have been talking about this. The only thing blocking a release right now is deciding on a final name. And we made a tentative decision, but we're still there's hours left for people to intervene and give us a better suggestion. The draft name had been forward revisions, meaning that you can create revisions that are ahead of the current one. But my feeling is that for findability, people looking for this are going to be searching sort of for a workflow module. So I felt like we want the word workflow in the title. Justin and Martin were both at office hours yesterday when I raised this. So my proposal is draft workflow because it's a workflow for drafts, sort of forward drafts. I think either Martin or Justin suggested that revision workflow is also a good name. That includes the word workflow and revision. But my hesitation with revision workflow is that I really don't like the word revision. I feel like that at some point we might decide to switch this to versions instead of revisions. But that's a divisive. So for now we're sticking with revisions. But anyways, a version, if we did switch, we could call it version workflow. But because it's currently,
I mean, you might want to call it content workflow version workflow. So it's specific because we often use version with relating to versions of modules. And
Yeah, that's, I think, Joseph, I think that was your concern about using version. Right, was that we're using it in different ways in different places, so. But it continues to kind of irritate me a bit, especially like now we show when there's only one revision, we show it. And it just seems weird to have one revision. So, but
it's quite common. I've seen it quite a lot on official printed documents to have version and in like a little table showing, you know, the version history of a document. So I've seen that quite a lot on printed documents. So
but revision, that's the
it's yeah. So I think version, but I think for the module, if qualifying it with content version workflow might make it less confusing.
okay. Joseph, any thoughts?
Um,
You
not
haven't been too
really.
strongly opinionated in this, so go ahead.
Not really. I
So people don't like
Okay.
draft workflow. Is that not good? I'm okay with content version workflow or I'm okay with revision too. So, I'm trying to keep, you know, three word names are, I've done others so that like when we get to 4 word names, that starts to feel too long to me. But um, anyways, well, we need to make a final call on that. If anybody has feedback on revisions versus versions, give them to us. But for now, we're not changing that. We're referring to revisions. So. Okay, well, I think we could move on to the next project then, if nobody has any. Are you by chance prepared to go next, Martin, or?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So go ahead and give us a quick introduction on how
Okay,
this
so
change came to be. Yeah. Or maybe give us a quick, some people might not be familiar with B that are watching this. So
yeah,
be sure you
sure.
start with what is B.
So B is a command line tool. It works on sort of Unix-based environments. So it works well on Linux. It works reasonably well on Mac, and a lot of functions work on Windows, but not all of them because some functions use specific command line functions. It has sort of support from PHP 7.4 to PHP 8.3. I think will be once Backdrop is supporting 8.4, we'll be looking to get 8.4 ready. It has a lot of features for a lot of commands for managing the your Backdrop site. One of those is to be able to download projects. You can also enable, disable, uninstall them, but we're focusing on the download here. And that's been around for a while, but it always would download the latest. The only exception being if there wasn't any releases or any releases that weren't pre-releases, then it would offer to download the dev version instead. But there was never any option to download different releases. For a little while, we've been working on an update functionality to be able to update modules and Backdrop core from the command line. And while we were working on that, I was working on a few aspects with Joseph. We identified that actually we needed the download function, the internal download function, to be better able to support this update function with a few additional requirements. So I was working on that, and we also needed to be able to identify different releases and make sure that we could targeting the right release. So I did some work around looking at the releases and realized we could actually make download function itself a lot better. So what we've done, what I've done is created the ability with the download function for each project you can either define a release, or you can define a branch that you want to download, or you can go into a menu and select a release from the last 10 releases. You can leave it blank and just download the latest, which is the default behavior. Or you can specifically choose to select the dev branch of a module. So we will, I'll demonstrate that functionality and just quickly explain how it, how you can use it. So it's in the latest merged version of B, but it's not in a release. As a few people test the merged version, and we've found a few bugs in it, which I've been fixing as quickly as I can. And once we're satisfied that there's no more bugs to find, then I'll look at doing a release of it. But I will now share my screen. And we can demonstrate that. So hopefully you can all see that. So first of all, what I will demonstrate is just what the help command looks like for this. So if you didn't know, with B you can type B help and then a command to get all the help text for that particular command. So what we can see here is that we have a new format for how we can download. So we can do a project release tag or keyword and then a branch. So if we've got 3 keywords, we've got dev, branch and select. And if you select branch, then you can specify the name of a branch. If it can't find it, you'll get an error message. But if you if it exists, it will download that branch. You can specify to download the dev version of a module. You can download a specific release of the module, or you can choose to select a module, a version of the module. So I'm going to demonstrate each of those particular functions. So first of all, and this is something that is quite common to do, I'm going to download the dev version of Devel because often there is a number of commits in the Devel repo since the last release. So sometimes if you want everything to work with the latest merged functionality, you have to download the dev version. So that I've missed out the DL. There we go. So there we go. So it just downloads the dev branch into Devel. I'm now going to show you how we can download a particular release with the select command. So in here we can choose a number again. We've got the dev option and we've got the up to the last 10 releases. There haven't been that many, but we can select a release there. And what we now get is we get the release number, what date it was published, and you also get a link to the release notes. So you can look at that. One particular use case of, say, being able to download older branches will be where you're wanting to test update hooks. It can be quite useful to be able to download an older version, apply a patch, test the update hooks, and run that. Now I'm going to download the paragraphs. I mean, I wouldn't recommend this because it hasn't really been, it's not really being worked on, but we're going to download the 1.x, 2.x branch of paragraphs. As I say, it's not being worked on, so in general wouldn't recommend it, but it's there as something we can demonstrate. So, and that just downloads the branch into that. And now we're just going to demonstrate entering a release for a particular project. So I know this particular release exists. So we're going to download that by specifying the release. And this is a way, if it's older than the 10 that appear in the select list, you can still enter it this way and be able to download it. But I didn't want to overwhelm the menu by trying to show all the releases. So that's it. That's the functionality in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
Having seen this just yesterday, I kind of don't have any questions. It's a cool feature, though. This was definitely a problem we had recently with wanting to test upgrade processes, was the ability it's a little cumbersome to actually install an old module. This makes that a little bit easier, an older version of a module than test the upgrade. Anything coming, and what's coming next in B?
Well, one of the reasons for this particular upgrade was to facilitate some of the work that's happening with the update. So we've had a branch of B that has been looking at the update, and one of the community, a guy who goes by the name of the Met Man, did some work on version of update, but one of the reasons that's stopping me merging it is it deletes the existing module, then downloads the newer version of the module and replaces it. And I was a bit nervous about that because you could end up with no module there if the pulling the latest release failed in some way due to a network. So what we're trying to do, like we do in Backdrop, is download it to a temporary folder, and then before then doing the update. So this will involve a bit of rewriting of the update function, but it also sort of opens the door for that to happen. So that will be up and coming. There's a few other things in the list that may happen soon. One key one is the ability to save options for B, and I'm thinking this could be kind of at the site level, at the user level, and even at the installation level. So you could set it for all the uses of B on a particular installation, or it could just be for that user or for that site, and it could improve things for kind of if you're dealing with multi-site, that you could do that. So that's something that's probably the next thing to come along with updates.
Excellent. Hey, unless anybody's come up with a question, I think we should go ahead and move on. Why are you, how are things going, Justin?
Well, the part that I wanted to fix still doesn't work.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead or should I do mine first? Give you a few more minutes.
Go ahead. I don't think I'm gonna fix it
Okay,
before we're done. So
okay, but I'll go ahead and go next. So, but you'll be after me, so get ready to talk about it. Anyways, right? You still want to do it or not?
let's wait.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show a module that we just released about 2 weeks ago called the content export import module. And this was formerly known as the BN module. It was started a long time ago by Jeff St. Pierre, who is not currently active in our community, but used to be very, very active, was a core committer and very involved. And the idea for the module was to move nodes from one site to another. This is an issue that comes up fairly frequently. The sort of default solution for moving content from one site to another would be the feeds module, which is a very powerful and useful module, but it's also pretty complicated. And this module is meant to be much simpler. To illustrate how this module works, the first thing I did was there's a module called the sample animal content module that I created, which all it does is create 8 nodes with some sample animal content that includes images, and also it includes a taxonomy with a couple of terms. And I use it a lot for testing modules and demoing them. So I have 2 sites set up. I have another site that, by the way, the sample animal content module comes with a content type called animal with a few fields that are sort of custom set up, like the class Okay. And this is important because we're going to move these nodes and the content type together into a site that does not have that content type. Originally, that wasn't even on my radar. I kind of assumed we were just moving the content and the content type would be there, but I was able to do both. And I found that oftentimes the content type isn't there. So we have, let's make sure, I don't remember if I enabled the module yet. I've downloaded it though, the content. Oh, this is the receiving module or site, and I have not. So let's go ahead and install the module here. So if I search for content export, that should be good. It's a relatively new module, which means it shows up at the bottom. If you haven't noticed this before, your search results shows the most popular modules down to the least popular or newest. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the installation queue and go ahead and install it on the receiving site. So let's go ahead and enable it. So again, no animal content type here, no nodes beyond the default nodes. So we're going to go here where I think we do have the module enabled. And basically it's showing up under, maybe it isn't. Got to remember where it, content export import. Development, media, where does it show up? System, there it is, under system. I don't know if that's the best place for it. We might want to move where that is, but basically if you go to the content import export, or the first thing we want to do is export our content. And it's basically going to ask me which content types I want to export. I'm going to go ahead and do just the animal to start with. To export them. And basically what it just did was downloaded a zip file to my hard drive. And when I found this module, it didn't handle images at all. It handled the content pretty well, but we've got it now so that it will bundle images from from an image field into the zip file, along with a JSON file that includes the content type details as well as the content. So we've already done that. So now we're going to move to our new site without any content in it, without the content type. We're going to go to the system, import content, and we're going to go ahead and find that file, which should be download. It's right here, a 1.1 megabyte file. I have not tried this with large volumes, like 100 nodes. Most of my testing has been with default content that's here in this. So we need to really do some more testing, but we're going to go ahead and hit import. There we go. So it gives us a little report, created a new class, added 3 taxonomy terms, created a new content type called animal, and it imported 8 nodes successfully. So we now go to the front page and boom, there we go. We've imported that content. We created the content type. The animal content type exists now. The animal class taxonomy exists and the content is there. I think this module works, it seems to be working really well for fairly basic use cases. I'm not sure how it's going to hold up with more complicated use cases like node references. I haven't really tested that.
Well, done with paragraphs.
I'm pretty sure. Well, okay. Have you tested it with paragraphs?
No, I haven't.
It seems to me that paragraphs might very well be a use case that it doesn't handle. I don't know that yet, though. I haven't tried it. I know that it does not handle images in the body field yet. That might be something I can solve fairly soon. But I could do one other thing, which is if we If I go back and do a DDEV reset, which is do more than one content type. So let's go back to the first site, and we're going to do the same thing again, but this time let's do all the content types. Then I exported them, so that's now 5. If I go to the new site and refresh, the content is gone. This time I'm going to delete the existing nodes, but not the content types. So there will be a node or a page, a post, and a card content type, but there's no content of any type. There is no animal content type, right? We've just got the default content types to start with. And now we'll try to import that. Oh, I have to re-enable the module. There it is. There we go. So now we go system, import. Downloads. That's it. Let's see, cross our fingers. This time it did 13 nodes, but it still only added one content type. Back to the home page. Everything's there. The cards are now there. The page, the default cards, the default page, and the default post have been added back with the import. So it handles multiple content types at once. I thought of something in there that I forgot. Oh, it does. If we were to re-import the same thing, let's actually delete your first post. And then do the import one more time, and it should just import the one post that's missing. It should recognize the existing nodes and not re-import them. Oops, I was moving too fast for myself, so I don't remember what this one more time. There we go. Well, that'll be interesting. 5 new nodes. There might be some bugs here. Okay. It looks like it re-added some of the cards got added a second time, which they shouldn't have, but they did. I think I know why that was. Yeah. Well, maybe not. No. I got to think about that. But it didn't reload the animals. So anyways, I found a little bug there. Any questions? I think that's it for this one. Pretty excited about this. I'd love for people to test it and see what its limits are. It's going to break, and we know it's going to break in complicated scenarios.
Are you using the UUID module now?
I am not.
Okay.
So what I did start to do was create UUIDs on export, so that when it created new nodes, it had a UUID, and then it would compare those. But it's a UUID that was created specifically for this export. Now,
that might be why the animals didn't get duplicated.
well, I think it is why they didn't, is because it worked best for them. The problem with original content, so when we first imported the animals, the cards and the page already existed.
Mhm.
And it wouldn't have had a UUID,
Right.
because whereas the animals did, right? When we imported them, they had UUIDs, but we did delete the cards and the page, so I would have expected the export to have UUIDs and to use them, but it didn't work. So we'll have to check, see what happened. Actually, it looks like they're in here. Well, I did because I accidentally, I think, did it a third time. Yeah.
Okay.
But certain scenarios are going to get much more complicated and require additional things like UUIDs and I don't even know if a UUID is the for images. We just had it check for images. It shouldn't have reloaded images a second time, and it looks like it didn't, even for the cards. Oh, it did. Card one layout. Card two. No, it didn't redo the images a second time. But in that case, we didn't use UUIDs for the images. We just compared it to the name. So he said, if there's an image with the exact name already there, then don't upload it. And, either solution has its pros and cons, and I haven't, we could do UUIDs for the images as well. I'm still undecided if that's the best solution. Anybody that wants to talk about or help with that, let me know. Okay.
Looks like quite a handy module, that.
I think it's going to be, and I think it could be really useful for recipes. Most of my recipes that I've created include, I haven't used it with a recipe yet, but I think it will be valuable. Most of my recipes have sample content, but I've been hard coding the creation of that content. And I think I could just make this module a dependency and just, create some nodes in one site, export them, and then use this module as part of the recipe process to add sample content to a site. So I'm excited to try that. See how it works. Be curious what other use cases are. Justin, you decided not to go today, right? You're going to save your module for a later date? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Justin's been doing some exciting work with AI modules and was going to show us the AI search API module he's been working on. But that's not ready yet, but it will hopefully be soon. Let's do a quick demo of a module that I didn't create, but I was really excited to find recently. It's a little bit, okay, needs a little bit of work, I think, but it is I'm not sharing again. Let me reshare my screen. Or am I? No. Basically, the use case for this, it's called field visibility condition. The use case is we had a website that has articles in it, and then it has featured articles. And the featured articles have hero images, and the not featured articles don't. And there might have been other ways to solve this problem, but we wanted to use a different layout for the featured articles rather than the regular articles. Well, if they were different content types, we could easily set a field visibility condition based on content type. But rather than doing that, we just had a checkbox on the article content type that said featured. And I was hoping that we could okay. There you go. I lost my Zoom screen and I thought maybe I was talking to myself. I was hoping that we could set a visibility condition based on a field. And I was pretty sure that wasn't available in core. And so I hoped that there was a module for it, even though I'd never used that module before. And we found that there is a field visibility condition module. I haven't downloaded it yet, so there it is. We're going to add it and install it.
I use this for a site where some nodes will have some content to go in a sidebar and some won't. So
Right.
use it to show the sidebar or not, depending on a particular field.
That sounds like another great use case. I'm just going to add a featured, and this will be a Boolean field, just sort of a yes or no. And we'll just leave all this. We're not going to do anything with it. But the main thing to go is now, let's say we have we want to have a layout, maybe so for our posts, maybe the regular posts are fine with the default layout, but we want to create a special layout. So actually, I want to go here and go to create a new layout. And we're going to do a 3-column layout for, which seems silly, but we're going to do it anyways, for featured posts. And we can set the node context. So this is 4 nodes, and we're going to go down to the conditions. And this is where we have this new field value that wouldn't have been there before this module. And we click on that, and now it lets us pick from any of our fields and make a visibility condition out of them. Now, we're specifically interested in that featured field, so we would pick that. And now, because I didn't assign values to them, we can't pick, yes, the value should show up here, yes or no. And then I could add a condition, and that would, and I've tested this and it seems to work. That would determine whether or not the node used the Geary layout as opposed to the default Moscone flipped. There is some quirky things about it, and one of them I'm going to try to fix, or I've working with Joseph to try to fix, is, for example, on an image field, what I would like it to do is have an image field, and the post content type has an image field, so we'll use that as, or that's the card. Don't think it matters, but we'll go node post image field. Is there ought to be an option to choose yes or no. Is there an image or not? And make that the condition. The default behavior for this condition is to upload an image, which is not, I think, a very useful check, right? It seems pretty, I think the scenario of like, is there an image or not would be much more common thing you might want to check for than to check if a specific image is in the node. Although that could work too, and we could allow for both, although that having it up, I don't know, it still seems weird. But I think that's just the way this was sort of set up by default. And we're going to try to add that is there a value or not option.
Yeah.
So
I think it treats all fields the same, even when that doesn't make sense for certain field types.
Right. So Joseph and I have talked about that, but I think that's a really cool module that I think a lot of people don't know about. So, well, we're almost out of time, and I kind of have a hard stop today. So I think we're going to, anybody have any final thoughts or questions? Okay. Let's talk briefly about upcoming user group meetings. Wilbur suggested that we talk about print style sheets in an upcoming module. It's just a user group. It's something that he does. I've suggested to him that might be related to some PDF modules as well. And if the print style sheets isn't enough, but basically this is a style sheet that is used if you print out a web page. So he has some forms that he has on a website that he doesn't want it like have the website header and footer to be printed if somebody prints it out. And he's able to use print style. This is an old concept that's been around forever. It's nothing new or revolutionary, but I think the idea is that a lot of us don't think about it or aren't aware of it, even though it's there. And so that's he's proposed to possibly talk about that in 2 weeks from today. If people have questions about that, that would be a good time to come. Irina just launched this OpenID module, which I think might be a good topic for a future user group session. So I've proposed 6 weeks from now for her to talk about that. I skipped 4 weeks from now because 4 weeks from now is mid camp. And I know Justin and I are both going to be at mid camp, and I think Irina is as well. So she wouldn't be able to do anything at mid camp. So I would love to get a volunteer to both host and either present or find a topic for 4 weeks from now. I'll be bugging because again I won't be here, so we just need somebody to manage the meeting. So ping me if that's something you think you're willing to do. Okay, should we end the meeting? Anybody have anything else? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.